All right. This is You Can't Make This Shit Up. Your host, Joel Hawksley, David Washington. We are your political innovators here in Central Florida. We know what we're doing, we know what we're talking about, and we're going to talk about politics in Michigan and maybe nationwide. So, in the Michigan Republican Party, a faction ousted chair, Kristina Karamo, in a 40-5 vote, citing irregularities and violating party bylaws. Co-chair Malinda Pego temporarily takes over. Karamo's term, marked by factionalism and fundraising issues, face growing dissent, post, especially during the post-Mackinac conference. The move, challenged by Karamo as illegitimate, may lead to legal battles. The vote, based on proxies, sparked bylaws disputes. The incident highlights deep internal conflicts and the complexities of leadership shifts in a divided party. Let's go, Joel. These issues are not just happening in Michigan, but they're happening in other local or other state GOP party offices like Colorado. We've got our issues here in Florida. And this goes beyond just the Republicans. It also
We have no
is
issues.
involved with the Democrats.
We have no issues in the Republican Party.
Yeah.
The Republican Party stands strong and together and united, and we have no Donald Trump problem.
See, and there it is. It's the Donald Trump problem. Karamo was a huge election denier, huge supporter of Donald J. Trump, and it seems like whatever Donald Trump touches, for the most part, in the Republican Party, is sour.
I'm sorry, but we're going to win so much. We're going to be winning so much that you're going to get tired of winning. We haven't won since those words have been uttered
Well,
by Donald J. Trump.
And
And
2022 was a clear example of that winning.
listen, I am a supporter of the Republican Party as it exists. I am a Ronald Reagan Republican. I will always say that Ronald Reagan rejuvenated the party. He brought the conservative values. He didn't spend an enormous amount of time working on social issues. He focused on bringing our economy back from a dismal point. Donald Trump had a great opportunity to switch parties, as did Ronald Reagan, but he never truly became a Republican. He became a populist. He is a star figure, and to me, I want those that follow Donald Trump to, step back for a minute and get out of their feelings for Donald Trump. Get out of your feelings
Right.
and start getting back to the fact-based party that we always were. We had the contract with America because we decided that we wanted to be transparent. We wanted people to again understand what the party was about. Lowering taxes, giving individuals more choice, giving
But
it.
why has the party moved so far away from that, from those principles that obviously worked? And given this point in time in 2024, seeing that Donald J. Donald J. Trump is pretty much your nominee for president, why is it that there is this steady movement towards this particular candidate, this particular dogma, and you're losing the party is losing donors, losing support? If Ronald Reagan has such an effect on the party,
No, no,
why has it moved away from
no.
those principles?
I'm not saying Ronald Reagan has any. So Donald Trump's attack on the Reagan Republican started very early by taking the missteps of the Bush administrations, the failures that the certain failures of maintaining fiscal responsibility, certain things that focus got taken off of uh, our true purpose of making sure that individualism was focused on. Like, we believe that if you win the race, you win the race, right? You put the effort forward as an
Okay.
individual, you run the race, you all ran the race, you're all congratulated for running the race, but there's still only one winner.
Okay.
We don't have multiple winners
And
right
Trump
now.
is the winner.
And right now we have a focus on an individual who only sees himself, but because what he says about how he sees himself is translating to an enormous amount of the party. This is also a increase in the Republican Party from people that used to most of the people I see in the very day-to-day party a hierarchy that are they say, I was a Democrat. And they're proud to say, I was a Democrat until Donald Trump came along. And it's like, okay, well, why didn't you just stay in your own party? Why didn't you stay in your party? Because you didn't bring your principle. You didn't bring your fiscal responsibility. You didn't bring the
Well, Donald Trump was a Democrat. He was a Democrat longer than he's been a Republican,
correct.
and
But
and it seems like your party has definitely endorsed Trumpism, has endorsed this candidate, and has moved in that direction. That is, and from my professional perspective, is ruining your party.
well,
So, so what's the
what's ruining our party is we're not going back to look at what our party stands for. We're not looking at. So I wrote an article, and if you really, I get frustrated, and I want to try to get the answers to these same questions, David. So I sat there and I started looking at history, and I said, maybe I'm looking at this the wrong way. When was the last time somebody came into a party and tried to shake things up and failed to do so? And this was,
But Joel, isn't it too late looking at the history when you're seeing, the state parties like Michigan, like Florida, like Colorado, just going into chaos?
well, why are they going into chaos? Why are they going into chaos? Because you have a whole bunch of people that have no idea,
Arizona.
but
I'm sorry.
they have no idea what's going on. They have no idea what's going on, and they're trying. So let's look at locally. I know that's where we need to really be, and I think Christian Ziegler is a really nice guy. Like, he's a very strategic person. He had, as far as his work ethic, what he was doing for the party, he was all about the party. However, there's a person out there, and because he's a human and he has human desires and needs, and when you get into the bubble, you really need to be careful in that bubble. And when you take risks, especially sexually, or you take risks financially, um, you're going to be held to a different standard. You're in the public eye. And me, I can forgive. I'm a Christian. I can forgive. I don't think that any of these people that say that they're Christians really understand innocent before proven guilty. I don't believe we're just throwing everybody out of the way to make sure that Donald Trump. Listen, the Republican Party in Seminole County has a governor that's doing a fantastic job, and they won't even endorse him for president of the United States. And they made it possible to do endorsements in the party. We've never had that happen. So let's try to raise money with a popular governor. Let's try to raise money. Is Donald Trump coming to your Lincoln Day? Because, I mean, he's not coming to your Lincoln Day. So I don't know why you would endorse him over the governor. The governor at least might have showed up.
And see, and there's the rub right there. Donald Trump is bigger than life, and it is beyond the well. I understand there are some things that I can understand people identifying with Trump and his accomplishments, and thus they support him. I get that. There are some things that he could say, I did X, Y, Z, and I delivered. Supreme Court, tax cuts and regulation reform.
Well,
He did that.
if he said
However,
he was going to do,
I hear few people mention those three things when they say, "Oh, I support Donald Trump." It's more the bluster, the personality stuff.
Yeah, but
And you
they're
would think that the Republicans like yourself, the conservatives like yourself, would be able to get through to these folks. Like, well, let's look at the bigger picture here.
well, the people don't understand. They want to have conspiracy theories. If they really wanted to look at this, Democrats control the Republican Party, and the reason the Democrats
How?
control the— do you think I was going to say something and not answer it?
No, no, no. It's just
Democrats control the Republican Party. The reason the Democrats control the Republican Party is because they control Donald Trump.
what?
Donald Trump is a narcissist, and I'm not giving— narcissism is a good and a positive thing for certain, aspects of— I don't think you have many politicians that aren't narcissists, but when you can get underneath— all you need to do is study Donald Trump, find out how to get under his skin, how to get his followers to do his bidding, and guess what? Attack him, indict him, do everything you possibly can to make him look like a victim, and you get all these Republicans to rally behind an individual because he's under a personal attack and they don't want the government to personally attack them. You have to look at the perspective from where they're looking at it. This is Jamestown. Like, if we knew how Jamestown came about, how the charismatic person can bring people to, you know, drink the Kool-Aid, Donald Trump has the formula for the Kool-Aid. They're all in it. And as long as somebody else is manipulating what he does or how he presents it, he's a victim. He's always a victim. Well, you know what? We were the Republican Party. We were never the party of victimism. We would always overcome being a victim. We would try to make everything about
And
how do I overcome.
The Democrats had the blame for that.
Yeah, well, look at— you went after him. You impeached him twice. You went after him knowing that you weren't going to have any chance at it. You've totally you
And the
totally—
Republicans weren't complicit in,
the
in
Democrats
supporting them.
the Democrats totally convinced him that he would leave the freedoms alone and go lock everybody down. The Democrats got under the decision making process to make Donald Trump feel that he had to make a move and that he didn't have to do. Listen, he didn't have to do mask mandates. He didn't have to shut down our government. He knew that it was supposed to be the states that made these choices. And yet Donald Trump made that decision because the Democrats made him look bad. And when he thinks he looks bad, he makes bad decisions.
I'm still trying to wrap my brain around all that. I mean, thanks for giving Democrats a lot more credit than I would have. As a matter of fact, I think Democrats have been inept in doing anything in regards to influencing Donald Trump and Trumpism. Uh, Not, I mean, going back to your statement about Republicans not being or conservatives not playing the victim card, it seems like you're saying that the Republicans are and conservatives are victims of the actions of Democrats. I don't. I'm still trying to wrap my brain about it around this.
No,
It's been said many times, whether it's Grover Norquist saying, "Hey, we want to make government so small that you could drown it in a bathtub," or we just need a president with workable digits to sign the legislation that we want them to sign. And they got that in Reagan. They got that in Bush Jr. They got that in Donald Trump. They got the Supreme Court they wanted. They got the tax cuts that they wanted. They got the deregulation that they wanted. If you want to give that credit to the Democrats, I don't
that's
think they
not what
want it. But
listen, that's not what
you
I
know,
said.
you know,
Okay.
I think the Republicans and conservatives are the instrument of their own destruction, and I would say the same thing of the Democrats. And again, from a perspective of a professional in this space, it's disheartening to see the two-party system crumble and fail the people that they're supposed to serve, and that's why this leads to an organization like the No Labels Party to come in and say, "Hey, there's an alternative. We're not getting anything done. It's become a clown show in DC, and there's a better way." And I see why candidates like Kennedy jump into the picture, Phillips jump into the pictures, so forth and so on. Otherwise, we're looking at trash.
Listen, let me try to explain it a little bit differently. Because I mean, I see the pushback, but we have become party of feelings. Okay. We are attached to Donald Trump's feelings, like he's a victim of these attacks. Hey, when we tried to say that Hunter Biden and the vice president's family were involved in, you know, some very shady stuff, and the media decided that that was no story. We need to keep that out of the media, even though it was 100% correct. Okay, that right there just proves that, hey, we're not covering everything fairly, equally. The thing is, we become parties of feelings, and that is a feeling that, hey, you guys are trying to put Donald Trump out of the election. Colorado, guess what? You just helped feed the narrative by taking an individual who's not been convicted of a crime, not any way, shape, or form can you make a proof that, insurrection, that was an insurrection on Capitol Hill, or that the court system had nothing to do with the fact that you pulled Donald Trump off the ballot. Okay, now tell me, you pull Donald Trump off the ballot, you don't send a shockwave across the nation to say, guess what? Your freedoms are at jeopardy too, because we can interpret the Constitution any way we want to, because that's not the way the 14th Amendment reads. That's not what it says. But you're going to make your own personal interpretation of the Constitution. What does your state constitution say? Because if your state constitution had a way to get him off the ballot, that's another thing. How about every single state in all 50 states that decide to put a president on the ballot for years? Now, I'm not for
Okay.
years without a birth certificate. Like Jesus Christ, the only position that says you need to be a born, have to be a naturalized, you can't be a naturalized citizen to be president of the
Okay,
United
but
States, but you don't need a birth certificate.
that doesn't.
You don't need
I
a birth
mean,
certificate. So,
it
they've been breaking the law
emboldens
forever.
it emboldens Trump and the mystique of Trump, and it emboldens those supporters of what he does and does not do,
And gain some
and
more support.
it's killing your party. And I love competition. I love it. And I'm disappointed that the DeSantis campaign came out with all this bluster, and he's going to be also ran. He's going to be a footnote in political history after Iowa, after New Hampshire, and I'm thinking, what has happened to the party? What has happened to the organization? What has happened to the principles of the Republican Party when you have situations like what's happening here in Florida, what's happening in Michigan, in Arizona with the state parties? And again, the Democrats are not off the hook too. They've had plenty of opportunity to build their organizations, particularly here in Florida, and we're shedding voters. We are literally shedding voters. Something is not working. And so I guess my frustration is that there's so much at stake. And these parties, this two-party system obviously is showing that they are not, they don't care about what's happening at our kitchen tables in our homes, and unable to address those issues, so mired in these cultural wars. And two, there's just this disconnect now. And whether it's at the state level or the federal level, there is just this disconnect. And the elitism, we could go on and on about that, but there is this disconnect. And that's why, the No Labels Party is emboldened. That's why candidates like the independent candidates that run, the Dean Phillips, Kennedys, and so forth and so on. This is an indictment. The story about Karamo is an indictment of not just the state party systems for the Republicans, but also for the Democrats.
Well, this is one of those topics where, okay, hey, I get to go tell my party that, whatever. Uh, Truly, the thing is, I see it this way. If there's a child that's drowning, I feel that the Democrats are trying to push that child underneath the water to create more drama, to make it more desperate to save that child. And
Remember, it's the Republicans who want to drown government in the bathtub. How does the Democrats play into all this, except for their ineptitude?
see, David doesn't want you to see the true spirit of the Democratic Party. They don't want you to reproduce. They don't want you to. They don't want you to move forward in life. Even though they want to call themselves progressives, they want to take everything away that you've worked your entire life for, because they want to.
So I'm at fault for
so you want
the
to
failure of the two-party
so you want to
system.
so you want to diss the whole. You want to we want to change the focus off of the facts again, because we're talking about feelings. I'm trying to say Donald Trump is not a victim. And to my party, I'm saying Donald Trump is not a victim.
Right.
Donald Trump made his own decisions and put himself in this position, right? But until we take responsibility as a party for our leadership and acknowledge who our leader is, it can be Donald Trump. I'm not saying it can't be Donald Trump, but I'm saying we need to look at Donald Trump and say, who is Donald Trump? He's a wealthy individual. He's never had to fend for himself. He's been bankrupt how many times? He's been married how many times? He has all these moral issues that every Christian wants to just throw down. Hey, we're a forgiving party because we forgave Donald Trump. Well, you know what? You can't forgive Ziegler for having menage a trois. So hypocrisy. I'm going to get to the end. This result is the two-party system is full of hypocrisy. We don't know how to define our own parties anymore. David, if we asked everybody in our audience to give us a list, what does the Republican Party stand for? And you can't answer unless you're a Republican. What does the Democratic Party stand for? And you can't answer unless you're a Democrat. And you were to come right down to it, nobody would be on the same sheet of music, because we haven't had those internal discussions to find out who we are. Matt Gaetz is too busy throwing out one speaker to get another
Right.
speaker. And
I can tell you,
speaker has
I can tell you who Donald Trump is. Donald J. Trump is your nominee for the 2024 presidential election.
And
on the
Joe
Republican
Senile
side.
and Joe Senile Biden
So
will
there
be
you go.
it will be the nomination, and we will have
President
we will
Biden
have we will
to
have
you.
President Donald
Former
no
President
President Donald J.
J.
Trump. You will always be president, because guess what? The title doesn't just disappear. Let's talk about the Marine Corps. Like, once a Marine, always a Marine. Once president, always president. Thank you very much. Please like, share, and make all the comments you possibly can. And if you know what the definition of your party is, share it.